DMs, I have a big secret for you, and Daggerheart is what taught me about it. Players can help with world building, and it makes for a truly amazing experience. So let's talk about the experience I had helping to create a campaign frame from scratch with my co-players and DM for our upcoming Daggerheart campaign. Because I think that this is something that you can absolutely translate over into Pathfinder or D&D or any other TTRPG to make it something that truly becomes something that is so unique and personal and special to every single one of your players. In past D&D campaigns, as a player, I was able to flavor and create small little pockets of the world. The hometown that I was from, or what my family tree might look like if I was from a noble family. But Daggerheart has our crew doing something wildly different. I got to help create an entire world, and I'm so excited to play in it. For context, me and my Daggerheart group meet about every other week, and we started with a quick little mini campaign of Strixhaven that was only level 1 through 3. It was something to make sure that we liked the game, that we liked the system, and something that didn't take too much forethought with our DM. Because we were still learning the rules all over. Our DM was new, we were new, everyone was kind of new, the game hasn't even been out a year yet, and obviously we had a blast. While we definitely want to go back to Strixhaven and visit these characters later, we also wanted to do something longer term, and we wanted to do the full campaign frame thing and build out a world and flesh it out ourselves as well. I cannot emphasize to you just how much fun this was. This was so fun. We all got together for dinner, and then we spread out on my kitchen table with paper scattered everywhere and pens and colorful pencils just to scratch out and re-scratch out what we thought about things. And the only thing we really had to go off of was what Daggerheart suggested as making sure you have an inciting incident and things to think of, but as well as a half-done map with names that completely ended up getting changed anyways that our DM had made literally ages ago because he wanted to run a pirate campaign in D&D back in the day and he just never got the opportunity to. But now we have that opportunity to do it in Daggerheart. So we came up with a world together. We determined what ancestries come from what areas. We picked what factions existed and where they worked out of and where they operated. We worked on the tension that had been building in this area, what factions were warring and on the verge of that war truly escalating to a point that blades were drawn. See, Daggerheart advises that you start your game around the same time as the inciting incident occurring. The example our history nerd of a DM used was the killing of Archduke Ferdinand, which most historians will claim is what actually started World War I. It's the trigger point for something to dramatically change the entire world, even for those not involved, even for those on the opposite side of the world as Archduke Ferdinand. By default in those types of situations, tensions are high throughout the world. And that type of inciting incident means that there's a lot of quests for our characters to go on. Another inciting incident example would be Dragon Age Inquisition with the explosion of the Conclave. You start the game with the Conclave exploding and you happen to be a survivor, and now the world is chaos. It doesn't matter if you lived all the way in the Western Approach or if you were there in Ferelden. Massive explosions, massive destruction, chaos everywhere, demons are now pouring from the sky. The Conclave was that breaking point. So we added our own breaking point. And personally, that's just things that my characters should probably just know by existing in the world. That's not something I should have to quiz our DM on as far as what does that mean or why do I care about that? Why do I care about Archduke Ferdinand being shot? That's something that was world news. Everyone knew about it. Or they will know about it if news hasn't been delayed. As soon as they do know, that's going to cause panic. I know a lot of people will argue this and counter with not being able to go discover new items or see new things, but let's not forget that knowing what's happening in the world doesn't mean that you know your way around the world. It doesn't mean a hex crawl or a surprise can't happen just because you happen to know that Virginia is next to Maryland. After all, I've taken a fair amount of geography and world history courses, but I'm pretty sure if you just drag and dropped me into the Amazon or the Sahara Desert, I would absolutely not know where I was, and I would still very much be in a real-life hex crawl situation. I would not be able to tell where I was just by looking at a map at that point. Hell, I know a lot of people who get lost in their local airport a lot, and they've been there more than once. And I even know that I would probably get lost in Glasgow. despite only having been there a few months ago and having had a personal tour guide. Shout out to Renegade Rolls. But it's a big city, and big cities are constantly changing and under construction. And just because I got the highlight reel of the history of Glasgow doesn't mean I wouldn't need to do more exploration myself. It just means that I know a very high overview of what happened, and I know kind of what was around Central Station when I was there, because that's where we mostly were. Back at the table, this type of world building also means that lore dumps can be more focused and more centralized. You're not having to go on an hour-and-a-half long rant explaining the backstory of who Archduke Ferdinand was and why it's important that he got shot. Instead, it can just be little nuggets of information as your characters learn them, because they know the high overview. I know the high overview. I can ask about a specific incident or a specific fight instead of, hey, so what's the vibe here? Like, whose side should we be on? Who's fighting who? Like, I don't know really the history of, like, the Imperials versus the Stormcloaks. Who do I like here? And spoiler, I never even did the Civil War quest in Skyrim. It's the worst quest of all of them, fight me. That additional context also helps with more immersion. Because I already know these things, I don't have to wait for my DM to tell me things that my character already knows, because I helped create it. More immersion means better role-playing, which means a better gaming experience. And I know for a fact, no offense to Mr. Steps, but he doesn't have the best memory when it comes to things happening in-game. And aside from taking notes, it does help him remember at least a little bit the fact that he put his own mark on it and it's something that he helped create is something that really benefits him when it comes to solidifying lore and making sure he remembers how things are going. But this also takes a lot of stress off of your DMs. Don't get me wrong, I love world building, but let's be honest, it can be exhausting and overwhelming, especially for new DMs. But if you're okay with sharing that burden and have players who are excited to play in your world, this is a great way to be able to relax a little bit and take a step back. Yes, you need to take notes on the lore and you need to make sure it all makes sense, but your players will help you share the load. So if you're looking at starting your own homebrew campaign and you're feeling a bit overwhelmed by it all, I think trying these campaign frames from Daggerheart will definitely help. Try it out and let me know what happens.